Hello everybody, Mr. Pilgrim here, coming at you with the 10th video in our Platinum Trophy Guide for Enotria, The Last Song. Now, in this video, we're more or less, like I said in the last video, going to be covering everything else that you might have missed, and just doing some cleanup before you want to head into New Game Plus. This is going to go over everything that you might miss, so weapons, things like that, mask lines. Now, do note that I will show off all of what I have, so if you want to take note, I will also leave links. That way you can double check. So, for instance, if you are trying to figure out what mask line or tool you're missing, you can come to that specific section and then sort it. And then what I like to do is go by alphabetical. This will allow you to then compare it with whatever list that they might give you, because for some reason some of the guides go based on doing it alphabetically rather than in order of how you would actually obtain it, if that makes any kind of sense, give or take. But for the most part, as you'll see, there's definitely a lot of weapons. And as you probably know, like I said, you want to make sure that you do the ending to where you get basically both Arlecchino and Pulcinella as bosses, so you can get their items, because those are going to be necessary in order to do some of the one of the trophies at least. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, you have your weapons, which for some reason, even though you don't get all the weapons in the game, when you sometimes gain a certain amount of weapons, even if it's duplicates, just having a certain amount will also cause the trophy to pop. Now, this also can happen whenever you sit down at a knot, or whenever you fully close the game and reopen it and load back in. As one thing that had happened to me with my mask lines is I'd gone through and then I thought I got them all. I thought I missed some, but for some reason I believe I've gotten them all, but you know, I didn't have the trophy pop. So then when I closed the game and reopened it, then the trophy popped for me. Like I said, I'll leave a link to anything that you might need. That way you can double check and make sure that you have everything. So that will cover masks, the lines, which are the main thing. And then another thing that I haven't really touched on in a minute is also the path of innovations. Basically, what you're going to have to do is go through and get everything. So it doesn't matter which tree, you have to get them all. Now, that will take multiple playthroughs, so don't worry about that. As you can see, just going through and doing one side alone will easily cost you a good bit. As you can see, I was above 1,000, and now, just like that, I'm all the way back down below 400. A little crazy, but for the most part, you're just going to have to, like I said, it's going to take multiple playthroughs to do this, which you're going to have to do multiple playthroughs anyways. So just keep that in mind when going forward. It's not a bad thing if you don't have everything, but this is why we're trying to do this now before you go into New Game Plus and you might miss something. So I almost have everything from 3 paths so far. Once you get all 4, that will be another trophy in itself. And then, like I said, the last thing that we mainly need to talk about is the compendium. This is the one that's going to require the most amount of work. Not really this first one overall, but the main things is just everything else. So you have your top one, which is the power of change, which is mainly story related, and you just automatically get those. The ones you mainly are trying to focus on is the City of Actors and the People of Quinta. Now, once again, I want to thank the people of Reddit and also the people on the wikis who have gotten these compiled, and the people who've made videos showing off where to find certain things. So you will have to get all of the compendium completely filled. Now, that sounds like a lot, and it definitely is. I'm going to try and do my best to cover the ones I might have missed that I didn't show in my video. So if I happen to have missed anything, I'll definitely go over it, especially in regards to the notes for the most part. That if it definitely sounds like a lot, and it is, that's why I'm going to try and do my best to give you guys as much as you need. And like I said, it's best to do this now while you have full access to the entire game and when everything is still easy to do. So like you can run through the areas to grab what you need, for the notes. If I might have missed anything, like I said, I'm gonna double check, and that'll probably be the first part of this video, is just going through that. And then the second part of the video is going to be focusing on the people of Quinta. So as you'll notice, you happen to have a few of these. Now, if you're playing on an older version of the game, this might be an issue for you, and you might need to play it on the most up-to-date version, as certain parts of this cannot be done on the older version of the game as they're bugged. The main thing is like these, the first one here, the flawed vessels of change. Those are done in the tutorial. Now, once you do the tutorial, you can't go back on like a New Game Plus. It starts you after the Force of Change boss when you get to that first knot, and there's a giant like wall that you can't go back. So just keep that in mind. And then the main thing is you'll have a bunch of these entries that are going to have multiple entries. For instance, as you can see, some of these are just based on beating bosses, beating enemies so many times, as you'll see. So the more you have to farm something, the more likely is going to be filled out. And that's going to be for all the areas. So just keep that in mind. But I think, as you can see, in Moretta, we've already gotten all three of, because you fight her multiple times. But as you can see, for some of these, you have to do these multiple times. And it's a bit annoying, but it's something you have to do. And that's, like I said, it's going to be the second part of the video. I will leave a link, as somebody has made a guide to that, going over every single one. And I'll definitely appreciate giving that guy some support. Like I said, I can't remember it off the top of my head, the YouTube name, but like I said, I'll leave a link to all of it. That way you guys can go and use that if you don't want to use this video. Because I might miss something, or, I might forget something, and they have it in their video and I don't. Now, as well as that, the last also trophy that we're probably going to focus on getting, and we're going to get, is the trophy for I Did Learn the Part. Now, it sounds a little confusing, but what it requires you to do is to use the mask system. And I'll try and explain this as best as I can. But when you're going through the game, if there happens to be a boss that actually gets a health bar, then you have to beat it with the mask that matches them. Even the rifts. So, for instance, the combat rifts in Felicia Mania that have a huntress, you have to have a huntress. Any of the mini bosses that can give you a trophy that have a mask related to it, like the 4 gatekeepers in Felicia Mania, the breach defender. Basically, for instance, if it has a boss and a health bar, you'll have to fight it. So for instance, Pulcinella, you'll have to do him. Arlecchino, you'll have to wear his mask when you fight them, is also the main thing. I will leave a link to a video on that, but the downside is it's in a different language. No hate or anything towards the person who made the video, as they did a great job on it. You can more or less understand exactly what they're saying, because certain key words, regardless of language, are going to sound the exact same. So, like for instance, when you're going through the first chapter of the game, you're going to have to fight, who is it? You're going to have to fight Zanny, you're going to have to fight Curtis, and you're going to have to fight Vermiglio, right? So you can use whatever weapons and stuff you want, but you just have to beat them using their own mask. Now, I'll have my own dedicated video to that, so in case you want to follow along with that, that you can, and that will definitely be the last video I probably do, which will probably be right after this one. So thankfully, we're almost at the end, and we'll get the Platinum Trophy soon. But like I said, the compendium is the first thing you want to do and fact check yourself on. So just remember that. There are, like I said, I'm going to leave links to everything that you might need. And probably right now is when I'm going to start with the lore notes and double check to make sure I've gotten everything. And if I have missed anything that isn't shown on any of the 9 videos I've already done, then I will go over that as well. So just remember that. And then once you are ready, then you can go to New Game Plus and we can do the I Did Learn the Part trophy. So, like I said, I'll skip to any of the lore notes if I missed any right about now. Alright, so the one of 2 that I did miss is the Cosmic Powers Part 3 from the Cosmos section. It is from the City Commons, not in Litumnia, as you'll see here. It's the second one once you're in the city. But from here, you're just going to follow this path and head over to the left here. And as you'll see, it's right here, hidden in this alley. Pretty hidden because I couldn't even see the glow until I broke the box. So we'll now move on to the second one, which is the Astronomers from Beyond the Stars. Alright, and in the Glassblower District is the next one that I missed, the Astronomers. It's hidden all the way at the very bottom once you fully drain the water, where the giant dude is hanging out at. So thankfully, at least we have an easy way to get back down. Let's go like so, and so. The question is, what boxes? Just deal with him real quick. There we go. Sit over here. No. No. What? Ah, there it is. There we go. And that gets me Wonders of the World. So that's all of the journal entries done, which is nice. So now we can then focus on all of the actual combat entries, which that one's going to be a grind for sure. So we'll just get started with the first ones that you can find and just work our way through the game. The first 2 enemies you're going to have to farm are the Piercing Wit and Sharp Retort, which are found here in the lower commons of Quinta. The first one is here, just up to the left, right here. And then the Sharp Retort is the one found right here. There you go. As you can see, 50 Sharp Retorts. The Piercing Wit one was probably going to be a bit more annoying, but I assume that's the ones that just fire crossbows at you, which isn't that bad, but that's 2 down. We'll now move on to the next one, which is at the Old Road District, which is down below, and that's going to be the Half-Eaten Actors. There we go. From here, as you'll see, it's just right across the river here. There's a few that you can grab all along the way over here. The first one's right here. You also have a lumberjack that you can get as well if you haven't gotten lumberjacks. And then you can come over here and find a few as well. There we go. Now move on to the next one, which is found at the School of Zanny Knot. Here you're actually going to head back down the way you came, and here you'll find the Crushing Laughter. There we go. So now we'll head all the way back to the Field of Beginnings to get the enemy townsfolk. From here, you're basically just going to be heading out and taking down all of the ones that don't have masks or unique appearances. Basically, any of the ones that have the sizzling torch count towards this. As you'll see right here, we've got one and a gardener. And then if we come over here, we can head up and grab this one right here as well. Might as well take them all out. But there you go. And now we'll move on to the next one, which is back in the lower commons. From here, if you actually take this shortcut back, we'll run past the gardener here, and we'll have quick access to a blacksmith just up ahead. So if we head up here, and into this side area, it's this guy right here. There we go. And since I've already covered the lumberjack in the old district road, we'll skip past him. The next enemy is going to be the dogs found in Quinta. The first one you can find is right here. There we go. Pretty easy. And now we'll move on to the crabs found back at the shores of Quinta. I'm sure you can already guess. You just head back into the cave, and there's 3 scuttlers that you can find waiting for you. There we go. Pretty easy, and then we'll head back to get the drunk actors, which is found in the lower commons. Alright, so from here, you're just going to head back and take out this gardener over here, as it's basically any enemy that is afflicted with the drunk or dizzy status effects, as you can see by the cup above them. So now we'll move on to the Monastery of Maja. All 3 of the enemies that you need to farm are from the first knot, and you have the small guys here, and then you have the larger version over here. That's 2 right there, and then you need to have the corrupted actors, which will have the little fire symbol, which will come all the way back down and head to another part of the map. So from here you can just drop down, come off to the right over here, follow this path, come over to here to this breakable area right here, and then just drop down to take these 2 guys out, and there you go. Now we'll move on to Felicia Magna. First 2 in Felicia Magna are at the wall outskirts, and that's the 2 hunter types that can be found just right here. You've got your fishermen, and then you've got your hunters. There is a slight difference, as the hunters aren't going to throw their spears at you, but the fishermen will. So just keep that in mind. Then we can move on to the Hall of the Great Statue. So see you there. Alright, so the first 3 here is in the Hall of the Great Statue. Now it does require that you have the shortcut opened up. But there is a difference between the enemies who use the axes and the other ones who use swords. They're both their own, so just keep that in mind. The first 2 you can find is both up here, as you'll see. This one is the gladiator, and then you have the other one right next to him. Now we're not done yet, as we also have the scuttlers here. And then the fourth one that we can also get is just up ahead. There we go. And it's this enemy all the way at the back next to the fire. There we go. Now we can move on and head back all the way up top to the ladder shortcut next to the knot. 2 cave bandits that you can easily get, or the huntresses of Belta, are found just outside of the desecrated temple, similar to the mask farm that you use. That's 2 right there. Then we can head to Necropolis for the one and only easy to farm Risen Ancestor. So see you there. From here, as I'm sure you're already aware, you can just come back out and take this guy down pretty easily to farm your Risens. There we go. Now the next one is the Sanctum Zealot, which is from the Combat Rift just outside of the Colosseum, which you'll have to do in New Game Plus and New Game Plus Plus. You'll have to beat them 3 times, so just keep that in mind. We'll move on to the next one after that. Alright, so there is a small difference. As you see, the enemy down below is a Hunter of Belta, and then the one that's up top is considered a Cave Bandit. There is a slight difference, but you can still farm both of them right here. And then a third one that we can grab, if you also watched how to get all of the masks, is also found in here, and it's the Priestess of Belta. The enemy is found all the way back over here. As you can see, they do respawn. So there we go. Sadly, they like to teleport. There we go. But yeah, that's that. We'll move on. Up next is the Colossus, which can be found just outside of the Colosseum, and there's 3 of them, so it makes it nice and easy to farm them. Hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't be throwing anything at me now. So now we'll move on. Right, the next one is the Paguro Scuttler, which can be found just outside of the Great Hall. There's 3 right here that are fighting a warrior. There you go. And then the next entry that we can talk about is found back inside the Great Hall. And there's 2 of them that I was waiting so we could get them both in one go. And that's going to be found all the way at the major shortcut right next to the knot up the ladder. Now do note, for some reason sometimes that lore entries will temporarily reappear. I've noticed this one will respawn and you can get a free 2 lore entry. I don't know why. But next up we have is the Paguro Wreck Dweller. And then we also have the Simulacra of Veltha. But do note, for the Paguro Wreck Dweller, you only have to do 2 entries instead of 3 like the rest. Basically, you just have to farm this one less than the rest. So from the knot, you'll just follow this path up. And as you'll see, he's right here. It's basically the giant cannon bros. There we go. And then from here, you can come on up. Come inside to where you would have the little mini-boss with the Simulacra of Veltha. But that's not the one you need to farm. The ones you need to farm are found just around the corner here. Right here. There we go. Now we can move on. The next entry is found just back outside here, and it's off to the left to the secondary area, and it's the Rifleman, as you'll see right here. As you'll see, even his own allies can take him out. What a way to go. So now we're going to head into the market, a good ways into the area. Market district, as you can see, he's just waiting in the doorway. And that's the privateer. Now we can move on to the upper city of Urbe. The upper city, if you actually head back down, as you'll see, we have the Sol Meridionite. And then the last thing we have to focus on is the dogs of the area. There we go. Get him taken care of. Now, for the most part, most of these entries are just about defeating, I think, at least 50 of these enemies. So if that sounds like a lot, it's definitely a lot for some instances, and others it's not as bad. So depending, you can come up into the city here. As you'll see, you have a lot of these knights that you can get, as well as the riflemen. And here you also have another wrecker that you can do. As you'll see, you also have 2 riflemen waiting for us. And then if you follow this around all the way, you'll eventually have 2 dogs that you can also get to deal with just up ahead. As you'll see, here they are. There we go, and that is all of Felicia Magna done, and now on to Litumnia. Alright, so now for the most in one run that you'll have, similar to the Memoria farm and the Mask farm, you have 2 automatons that you can farm here. Do note that each one of these specific robots that is different between the orb and the gun are also their own entrances. And then you also have the Ascendants. You also have the Magisters as well, which is one right here. Here is a second one as well. Now we're not quite done. Don't be in too much of a hurry. There we go. And then we also have a couple of gondoliers and some highborn that we can also get. And then also some Fantalinos. As you can see, 30 gondoliers. You also have just some regular Litumnians right here. And then, like I said, there you go, Litumnian Highborn. That's 3. And then last but not least, you got 3 Fantalinos over here. Ta-da! There we go. That's at least, what, 6 so enemies right there in one go. Then we'll move on to the Ingenium Engineers in the Engineers Guild. Next 2 are found here at the Engineers Guild. They're relatively close to each other. The first one is found just inside, right here. It's this basic enemy. And then the next one is this one over here with the gun. Ow. There we go. So now we'll move all the way back to the old docks for the next 2. And do note that this next one only has 1 spawn, so you're going to have to do this run at least 50 times, which is a bit annoying. But let's get to it. Alright, the next two are going to be found here on the docks at the start of Latumnia. Like I had stated before, only one of these will appear, so you'll have to do this at least a few times. The other one is the hound or dog enemies found throughout the area, but it's best just to grab both of them while you're doing this anyways. So there we see the dog. Okay, yeah, that works. And then from here, if we drop down, then come over here to this area where you normally do the combat rift, it's this enemy right here. There we are. Then we can head back to the Glassblower district to get the next three. From here, you're just going to head off to this side, and you have your basic, the enemies with the torches are the citizens. This gondolier would get out of my way. There we go. Then you have your Vetra Glassblowers, which are these enemies right here. And then last but not least, you also have the Glassblower Giants enemies as well. So you can get 2 of each in one run if you're feeling generous. If not, you can just get 1. Here we go. There we go. There he goes down. So now we're going to head back up to the Highborn streets to get the unique Wanderers. Alright, from here, it's a pretty straightforward run. It's basically going to be the unique Highborn enemies that just fire arrows at you. And then the next one is basically a mini-boss that you'll have to fight and defeat. And that is the gondolier enemy found in the cave. Not this guy or her. But if you're needing Highborn farms, there you go. Or Ascendant. If not, you can run past most of these and get the 2 that we need just up ahead. As you'll notice, it's these 2 here protecting her. As you'll see, they have the crossbow. As you'll notice, the difference is the size between the smaller ones and the larger one. And like I said, the next one is the gondolier mini-boss that you have to fight in the cave, as if you're doing the Bargnef riddles. You'll have to fight him, as well as the one similar to Felicia Mania, the similar one to the Combat Rift, and you'll have to go into New Game Plus 2, or your 3rd playthrough, to get that entry. And then the last one that we need is back on the docks at the very start, so I'll see you there. Alright, so from here, if you just come back the way you came from the start, you'll see it's this guy right here. There's at least a few of these that you can probably grab in the area, but for now, we're just going to say that's that. The reason why I did things in the order is so if you're looking at your compendium, you'll notice that I'm going in the exact order that it goes. I'm sure a lot of you aren't exactly happy about that, but it just helps you actually go down the line and be like, okay, I know exactly where that is. Okay, so that's the enemy I need to look out for, and all of that stuff. But that is going to do it for this video. So now that you, like I said, you should also make sure that you go and fully fill out all of these compendiums to get to part 3 for each of them, except for the one that I mentioned in Felicia Mania. Where is it? The Paguro Wreck Dweller. This one only has 2 entries, so you don't have to do anything more than that. So just keep that in mind. But the rest you should have to go through and do a part 3. So just keep that in mind. That's basically killing them at least 50 times. For the enemies that there's only one of, like the Scuttler here in Latumnia, that is a bit annoying. Trust me, I absolutely understand. The abnormal Scuttler. So yeah, it's a bit annoying because it's a bit of a run. Just have to get to it. But just remember, you just have to kill them 50 times and be done with it. And then once all that's said and done, then we'll be working on the next thing, which is the I did learn the part for defeating all of the major enemies and bosses with their own masks equipped. And then while you're doing that, don't forget, if you didn't get the 2 endings, you're already going to have to beat the game a couple more times and to go into New Game Plus 2 to get all of the journal entries anyways, so just keep that in mind. Like always though, I'll leave links and everything so you guys have stuff to take note of or use whatever resources that is available to you to help you guys out. But this has been Mr. Pilgrim. As always, I hope this is helpful or informative in any way, shape, or form. As always, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.